Somebody called the police saying that there was lewd acts in the car.
No lewd acts happening.
Doesn't matter. I have to ID you.
We're not doing anything.
Somebody called.
I'm on the phone with my dad. This is my boyfriend.
Okay, I want to see your ID. Somebody called, which means gives me the right to be here. So it gives me the right to identify you.
Do you know how many times I've been called? The cops have been called just for being black. Just because we're black and he's white. I'm just being really honest.
I don't. Who brought up a race card?
I'm bringing it up because
I said nothing about you being black. And I have every right to ask your ID.
And I have every right to say no. And if you'd like
to, no, you do not have every right to say no.
You can take me down to the court office and I can make a scene about it.
No.
And you know what? I have a publicist and I work as an actor in this studio.
I'm mildly interested. You have a publicist, but I'm going to get your ID. Do you see what time it is? 15 minutes ago, I would have been gone.
But because I didn't give you my ID, you felt that was enough for me?
It is enough, ma'am. It is enough.
That's fine. You know what? This is not a problem for me.
Okay.
Because I'm going to get all of your names.
It's obviously a problem for you.
No. What is a problem for me is that you think you're better than me, and you think you have more power than me.
I do have more power than you.
We are now joined by former LAPD officer, Sergeant Jim Parker. Sergeant, thank you very much for taking the time. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Sergeant, tell us how this whole thing started. You got a call that there were two people engaging in sex in their car in Studio City?
Yeah, it was, like I said before, we get these calls all the time. So unusual, though, was the location on this one because it was right off of Ventura Boulevard by CBS Studios. So, and I think it was about 2 PM, and I was just heading down Ventura, because it's sometimes during the day you get, I had just gone back to day shift, so I was tiring easily. So I wanted to go get a cup of coffee, asked a couple officers on the computer, hey, you want to meet me for coffee? And they said, yeah. So I just happened to be right there at the time heading that way when this call came out. And so when the call came out, I looked up and there's the street that it was supposed to be on. And I said, oh, I can handle this, right? These things only take 5 minutes at the most to what we call dispo and to get rid of them. And so I said, okay, yeah, I'm here. I'll check it out. And that was it. So just pulled up and saw them both standing out of the car at the time on the sidewalk. And
officer, you thought this would take just a few minutes and that would be that?
Oh, actually, normally all it does take is, and especially I didn't catch him in the act. So, and really most people just want them to shoot along, just go, just kick them out, and stuff. And that's normally what we do. We go, hey, I got a call. You're having sex in the car. You guys, be more careful and get out of here. And let me ID you or whatever. We'll check other ID and everything and check the car. But that's it, and then we're done. And then that way, when people call, they can see we at least identify them. They weren't wanted. They weren't using drugs in the car or nothing like that. They were just not, just people having sex, which happens, and that's it. Mm-hmm. And most people are happy with that, But she kind of made it go a little further than it would normally go. I mean, she really prolonged this whole thing.
And officer, you said she made it go further than it normally would have gone. What did she do to escalate the thing?
Well, she just didn't cooperate. All she had to do was show me her ID. I could care less whether she admits it or not. Mm-hmm. All she needs to do is show me her ID. I'll check it. I'll do what we call an FI card. I'll check her for warrants, make sure she's not on probation or parole. Same with him, and then check the car, run the plate, make sure it's okay, and then we're done. That way, if the person the person who called us says, what did you do? I can say, here's what I did. I checked them both out. They were just boyfriend, girlfriend, having sex in the car. They wouldn't admit it, but they're not wanted. They're not on parole. They're just regular people, just at the spur of the moment having sex.
What was your reaction, Sergeant, when she accused you of racially profiling?
Well, it's not unusual. I mean, we deal with it all the time, and it's usually, I said before, they have nothing to go on. So this is what they pull up. I don't mean they as derogatory. I mean people who were in trouble. Mm-hmm. They pull out of their hat whatever they can to turn it around on you, and you get used to those things. That's why I carry a recorder. I've been carrying a recorder since I became a cop 26 years ago. People get caught and they try to get out of it, and that's what they do. I mean, they try to turn it around on you. So unfortunately for her, she didn't know that I was recording it.
Well, that was my next question. You've been carrying a recorder, you mentioned, for 24 years. Is that unusual?
No. We have it's even more prevalent now. Officers in the last 10 years have even been more apt to carry recording devices. I've been carrying it for 26 years, and that is unusual. But even when I started, there were officers that were recording, back then too. So it's not unusual that it was being done, but it's being done even more so now, just on the officer's own personal, prerogative.
I'm talking to former LAPD Officer Sergeant Jim Parker. Sergeant, we're going to take a quick break. We come back. I want to ask you, what do you think what would have happened had you not had your recording? And also, given the apparent spike in crime, I'm wondering whether or not you feel that allegations of racial profiling are calling fellow officers all around the country, Sergeant Parker, to pull back and become more passive. All that's coming up. 818-353-1276, 818-353-1276. My guest is former LAPD Sergeant Jim Parker. Please don't leave town. And my guest is former LAPD Sergeant Jim Parker, who had his famous encounter with the Django actress Danielle Steele. Officer, what did it feel like suddenly becoming a nationally known personality?
It doesn't really feel. I mean, it's just work to me, so I don't really feel like I'm nationally known. I mean, it was when it first. What's really funny was, of course, for 3 days I was off work. I didn't know it was all over. It was actually all over the world. I had no idea until I woke up 3 days later to some messaging, and in particular one message from in Germany. Someone I knew was on a train and saw it on the news in Germany.
Wow.
So, and that was one of the a whole bunch of messages I got starting that Sunday.
I thought it was hysterical when you said to her, well, I have a publicist. You said, I'm mildly interested. It was hysterical. Officer, if you had not taped this, what would have happened inside the department?
Well, now you're getting me. See, because I'm retired, I could say things like, first of all, Beck's an idiot. So he would have, right away, you know how he is. He's the politician. He would have just come out and probably not stuck up for me, which he didn't do anyhow after the recording. But I think that, that there would be all these meetings, Najee Ali and all these other people who you've had on your show many times.
Right. Najee Ali is an activist, something called Project Islamic Hope, who often gets involved in these kinds of things.
And they would have been out there, and then they would have, been saying all these things, which they did. They did I don't know if you know this, but they actually came out and made a statement. And then when they found out my recording came out, they retracted everything and said we, jumped the gun a little too much and everything, stuff like that. But had not my recording been out there, they would have been on it, pretty fast and everything. So. I'm just glad I had a recording.
And Sergeant, if I'm not mistaken, it seems to me that Najee Ali even apologized and urged Danielle Watts to write a letter of apology or to issue a statement of apology, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, which I think was the first time any of that's ever happened in our history, at least since I've been doing this for this long. I've never seen them come out and apologize for jumping the gun. And you'd have thought that with that, Chief Beck would have called my two officers and myself up and said, wow, you guys really made us look good, but we got nothing but heartache after that.
You are now retired. Did you retire because of this incident, Sergeant?
Not because of it, but as part of it, only because I could, like I had said from the beginning, I could retire whenever I wanted to. And so after dealing with this, and not her, I mean, I could care less if she's nobody to me, but it's actually just the frustration with how the officers are being treated when we even are shown that we do things right. There's actual proof that in everybody's mind, in the world's mind, that we did everything right. And of course, it's up for interpretation, but we certainly did nothing blatantly wrong. And this is how we were treated by our own department, with proof that we did everything right. And that just kind of frustrated me enough. And I'm like, it would be a long time before I'd let Chief Beck decide what's going to happen to me. And so I just retired.
Sergeant, if you had a son or daughter and your son or daughter was thinking about joining the LAPD, what would you say?
Oh, you know what? I am the biggest promoter of LAPD, so I don't let my things my thoughts and stuff sway anyone. I tell them what I believe and what I think, and I say it all the time. You know, each person has their own career based on what they do, and you don't judge how your career is going to go based on mine. I do wish that there were some major changes made, but it's not up to me. It's up to the citizens and taxpayers and the commission, which we have not had a good commission for quite some time in this city. So I don't see any change in the officers' morale or the hiring standards or the amount of people that we're getting for applicants now. It's been down. It's been significantly down for quite a few years.
I'm talking to former Sergeant, LAPD Sergeant Jim Parker. What are the major changes, Sergeant, that you think need to be implemented?
Well, I think, you know, the public just wants to know that the police are doing their job. You know, the old adage that says everyone wants to know that the police are doing their job. They just don't want to see how it's done. Well, those days are long gone. Those days are gone. You're going to see how we do stuff, good and bad. But for every bad thing that you see, there's 1,000 good things that went well that day. And so I think if the department would just realize, a long time ago, a deputy chief told me the only problem with the LAPD is they have to hire from the human race.
Wow.
And that is so true. And this was when the Rodney King incident occurred. This deputy chief addressed us, and he said that. And I said, you know, that's probably one of the most intelligent things I've ever heard. Mm-hmm. But people seem to think that because we have all this training and all this thing that we're infallible, and it just doesn't work that way. You've got these kids out there, 24, 25 years old, trying to support a family, and they're out there all night long driving around looking for trouble to keep people from getting hurt or broken into. And then one little thing happens, and it's just a negative light on the department. And the problem is our department harps on those negative things, and it just makes the officers feel beaten down.
Sergeant, after Ferguson, we're seeing spike in crime in L.A., we're seeing spike in crime in Baltimore, we're seeing a spike in crime in New York, Chicago, Philadelphia. Do you think that they're related?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All related. Whenever you see the public start to dictate how we should handle criminals when it comes to incarceration, when it comes to what's considered a serious crime and what's not, whenever you see the pendulum swinging too far to the left when it comes to crime and punishment, you're going to see this uptick in crime. And that's just ever since the Code of Hammurabi back in the Babylonian times when laws were first set out, there's been this momentum of left and right. And each time it swings one way or the other, you start having more crime or less crime. And so none of this is rocket science.
Sergeant, thank you very much for your service, for being out there protecting and serving. I guess Ms. Watts has until August 26th to write a sincere letter of apology. Let's hope she does so. But again, thank you very much for your career and for being out there. Most of the law-abiding people, believe me, have your back.
I know. And that's, after doing this so long and working in South Central for a long time and other parts of the city, I know that for every one person that I deal with that is a jerk, there's 100 out there who are standing behind me, so that's fine.
Sergeant, thank you very much for taking the time. We appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you.